Maria in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Maria, what's up?
Yeah, hi, Tom. My subject is racial discrimination.
Uh-huh.
And I want to say that I get really exasperated because racial discrimination is, when it's mentioned, it's only about blacks. And yes, they have been discriminated against, and they are discriminated against now. But why aren't Hispanics ever mentioned? Because
well, I was not talking about discrimination. I was talking about slavery. And there have been Hispanics who have been slaves, but there was not an institutional enslavement outside of what Christopher Columbus did. There has not been an institution, and that was Native Americans in the Caribbean islands, in what is now Haiti and the Dominican Republic. There has not been, correct me if I'm wrong, an institutional enslavement of Hispanics.
But we have been discriminated against.
Absolutely.
I mean, just like the blacks, we are discriminated against.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
So, yes. And so I don't understand why just the blacks are mentioned. I mean, I don't mind that they are mentioned because, yes, it is discrimination. There has been discrimination against them, but also against us. But I don't see why Hispanics aren't mentioned.
Or Native Americans. Let me just be very clear about this. There's two separate conversations here. One is a conversation about paying back a group of people who for 300 or 400 years gave us literally their lives, their bodies, everything they had, because they were slaves. That's the reparations discussion.
We have two. We worked. We have two.
Okay.
We worked on the railroads. We worked building roads. We worked just like the blacks did. We were right there doing the same things that the blacks did. So I don't understand.
Okay. And then the second conversation is the conversation about how institutionally both the white power structure in this country at the level of government and the white power structure in this country at the level of corporate power has historically discriminated against and thus marginalized, minimized, disempowered, disenfranchised, and impoverished Latinos, African Americans. There was a time in this country when there was aggressive. There's still discrimination against Asians, but it was very aggressive. In fact, the only law that has ever been passed by Congress specifically to discriminate against a race of people was in the 1880s. The Asian, to forbid the importation of people from China to work on the railroads, to bust the unions. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Maria. Your point is well made. And I think that if we're having a conversation about ending discrimination or affirmative action, even reversing the consequences of discrimination, it has to include Native Americans, it has to include Hispanics, it has to include Asian Americans, and it has to include women. Women were the property of men arguably until 1920, and even in many ways to this day are. And look at the consequences in so many cases of divorce cases and women making 70% of what men make in the workplace, and what's her name who just got fired from the New York Times, et cetera. So all of these are strong cases for some sort of affirmative action program. But actual reparations, for 20 generations, your family literally were the property of white people. Therefore, we owe you something. That's largely
never mentioned, and that is never mentioned. Never. I have never heard that
in the context of Hispanics. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, in the concept of discrimination.
Right.
Yeah, and the concept of
and that's because I think that discrimination and reparations are two separate issues. I think reparations are paying back for what was done. Affirmative action is trying to pay back against discrimination, but discrimination is not enslavement. There's a difference. I mean, they're both evils, but enslavement is a very different type of of evil. And then there's the Holocaust that happened against Native Americans. I mean, the wholesale slaughter of Native Americans. And in Central and South America, there was the wholesale slaughter of Native Central and South Americans, people that we would now call Hispanic in North America. The slaughter of your people by the Spaniards, by and large, and then the French and the English. Maria, thank you for the call. It's thought-provoking. Good stuff. Thank you.